Hey, I'm James from Smoking At Barbecue, and I've just discovered sharpening your own knives with a whetstone isn't near as terrifying as I built it up to be in my own mind. So I know it's not logical, but the idea of tackling a whetstone with my own knife, especially since I got some nicer ones a couple years ago when I first started buying some Dowel Strong knives, just terrified me. I didn't want to mess it up, but I shared this with Dowel Strong, and they're trying to get me out of my comfort zone. So they have sent me their whetstone kit as well as an extra Shogun chef knife, which is my favorite chef knife, in case I mess it all up. They're confident that it's not that hard. So today I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone and bringing you along for the ride. So this will not be a masterclass in sharpening your own knife. As I mentioned, I am a complete rookie amateur going at that. I started my channel after cooking live fires on a variety of different grills and my neighbors asking me for advice and questions. I was hearing the same questions sort of over and over, and I thought, well, if my neighbors are struggling with this and friends are struggling with this, maybe some of you are doing the same. And 3 years later, here we are, a couple hundred videos on all sorts of live fire management, whether it be Kamado Joes, green eggs, offsets, pizza ovens, and everything in between. Fully comfortable if we wanted to dive into any topic related to running a fire. When it comes to sharpening your knife, though, this just has, for no logical reason, been something I have avoided like the plague. But just because you have a YouTube channel doesn't mean you're an expert in all things. So going into this fully well knowing that some of you may have some expert advice after seeing today's technique with some comments, and I'll absolutely be reading those. But I was watching a YouTube video recently with a very large channel, and they were using a honing rod and called this a sharpening rod. And that's a very important thing. I don't know everything about sharpening knives, but I do know the difference between honing and sharpening. And the analogy I'll maybe use here is trimming your fingernails. If you get a nail clipper out, you trim your fingernail, that's cutting a brand new edge. This is sharpening. If you were to get out a file and just dress that up a little bit and straighten up some of those rough edges, that's what honing steel does. So honing steel or ceramic will help keep our blade sharp, but is not actually sharpening our steel. And since some of this is so easy to mix up and get some misinformation, I thought I would do my very own knife sharpening class. So before I lose dexterity in the fingers, as you can tell, it's gotten a lot colder here. Let's head inside. We'll break out the whetstone kit. I have my first knife ever, which is a little bit softer steel, make it a little bit easier to practice on, and then we'll jump into sharpening my Shogun chef knife. So no more cheating. We won't be needing this anymore. But before moving into sharpening my favorite knife, which is my Dowel Strong Shogun 10 1/4 inch chef, I'm going to do a practice run on the first chef knife I had, which is my Victorinox 8-inch chef knife. This will be softer steel and a little bit easier. And in case we completely mess up, I've got some paper here. We'll do a baseline sharpness as well. And for a comparison or a baseline, Dowel Strong sent me the 2023 Shogun Elite, which will have a bit of red on the handle, so we'll be able to tell the two apart. But let's get this out of the package and actually compare the sharpness of a brand new knife right from the factory to my knife that was a couple years old and got lots of miles on it, to my very first knife on some paper. So I'll take you fast forward while I get this out. Okay, let's do the paper test on a brand new knife to my current knife. So definitely needing a little bit of work, not cutting near as cleanly as brand new. And our Victorinox knife. Also getting dull, we definitely need that. Let's get our whetstones out of the box. Okay, we have our kit out. I've just started to soak our stones. They need about 20 minutes, but while we do that, I can show you how we're gonna get our angle. We also have a straightener, as our stones will start to get a little bit of a divot, and a rust eraser, so we're not gonna need either of these right now for the first use. But the first thing we wanna tackle out is our blade angle. So there's a couple of things that we can do to figure this out. One common one is to use something like 3 pennies, for example, not on a soft cloth, but to get a feel for what this would be in terms of an angle. Another way to do that, if you're more comfortable, is to get a piece of paper, fold it into 90, so that we're going from 90 to 45, fold it again, so we're about 22.5, and one more time, so we're about 11.25. And so if we were just to compare this pennies to our paper, which I haven't folded perfectly here, you get an idea that that's following sort of the exact same angle. So whether you're more comfortable using a piece of paper and just getting a feel for the angle, or initially using 3 pennies to get a feel, both of these are a good guide to give us the angle that we're after. I don't think I'm seeing many more bubbles, so we'll give us another minute or two till they completely stop. We'll be ready to try our first sharpening on our Victorinox. Okay, I'm not seeing bubbles anymore, so let's start with our 1000 grit stone. So starting at the front, gonna do a stroke back with some pressure, no pressure as we come forward. Pressure on the way back. Flip our knife and do the same thing on the other side now that I can feel a bit of a burr. Repeat this with our polishing stone. Let's try again. Significantly better. So now that we've got a knack for it, let's move on to our actual knife. We've got the practice run out of the way. See how we do. And let's finish with our fine grit polishing stone. Now we've done about 15 passes on each side. Okay, let's see how we did. Nice clean cuts on the paper. Let's get a tomato. So I'm just going to check by making little cuts at different parts along the knife to make sure it's completely even. So start here at the rear, work our way through. That looks nice. So for first attempt with the whetstone, I think we are back good as new. So that was a little anticlimactic, at least in terms of the anxiety level. I put this on the pedestal in my own mind as a barrier to cross. It really wasn't that bad. So if you are like me for good reasons, illogical reasons, or just reasons, they may be your own, and you've been putting off trying to sharpen your own knife, I want to encourage you as a fellow complete amateur. This was not near as bad as I thought it would be, and armed with the tools now, thanks Strong for sending that. There's a bunch of other kits on Amazon, as well as Strong, which I'll put a link down below for you to check out. But getting your very own whetstone kit could set you up for maintaining your knives and keeping a great cutting edge for years to come. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and most importantly, for not laughing too hard at complete amateur trying to pick up a new skill. That's it for today, though. I'm James from Smoky Dad Barbecue, signing off. Remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.